welcome to our next conversation. And today I have a very special guest. Every time I turn my head around, Father Dr. Anselm Adodo, our guest for today, has achieved or ticked another box and achieved another milestone. So it is with great pride I'm saying that Father Anselm Adodo is with us today, sharing his journey of transformation. Anselm Adodo, he's a Nigerian scholar and ethno-botanist who has advocated for alternative medicine. He's also a Benedictine monk and priest of the Roman Catholic Church in Edo State, Nigeria. He founded Nigeria's first alternative medicine and research laboratory enterprise called Pax Herbal Clinic and Research Laboratories. And that was back in 1997. He's written several books on alternative medicine, nutrition, health, and epidemiology, but more so on nature power. We'll come to that and he will explain himself. He was educated in philosophy and theology, and then he added or mixed all this with the PhD, transform PhD we've spoken about in our previous dialogue. So over to you, Anselm. Welcome. Thank you for taking time out.
Thank you very much. Thank you. And I'm very happy for this opportunity to share ideas and stories with you.
So I'll start with my first question, but more than a question, something that inspired me. I was watching a recent interview. So you said something which was so beautiful. You said, from an arid land, the people of EU state discovered meaning. And this is very meaningful because, you know, in today's world, everybody's talking about finding purpose and meaning. So why I'm bringing this up is to set the stage for you to share your journey of transformation, what we call the journey of transformation, which is your PhD. And you coined a term, communitalism, which was community and combining community and capitalism, which was, and you've written books on that, on African leadership and the whole philosophy behind it. So can you please now start from what inspired you to take on Transform's PhD?
Thank you very much, Aneka, for the opportunity. I think I will summarize your questions. The way I understand it is for me to share my story. At the end of the day, we all have a story and we are all on a journey. And I like the idea of a journey of transformation. At the end of the day, that is all we are doing. We're on a journey. And as you know, every journey has a beginning, a middle, idea of life, the consciousness that life is a journey. Along the journey, we meet different people, we relate with them, we smile together, work together, but to be always conscious that other people who are making this journey. And when we realize that we are all on a journey, unique one, and then there will be peace. That's why I call my organization Pax, which is a Latin word for peace. And so for me, my journey starts from Africa and it will end with Africa. It's always from somewhere to another. So that is what I've been doing. And I always like to interpret all I'm doing in this way, that my journey is meant to bring peace, Pax, to me and to other people. And not just to me, but to other people. If it's just to me, then it's a very limited journey, Pax. So for me, that journey is to be integral, which is to bring all people healing, Pax.
So in our previous dialogue with Dr. Premi, Niker. She's also from South Africa. And she said something, she defined it very beautifully. She said that my transformation is not about just my transformation, it's the individual and the collective. You've given everybody a model of how this can take place, that it's not just your transformation, how you've transformed the community around. You set up the Pax Herbal laboratories within your monastery, and then you included the village people around you. And I think, yes, you've educated many students, but you have also involved about 1,000 women who now cultivate plants. And what you say is that African medicine or African research for African people. And this is different to how people talk about decolonizing Africa. You are also involved in regen Africa, which is regenerate. And regenerate means starting from the ground up. You ground yourself in your community and culture. So tell me, how was it difficult to involve people from an African perspective? How did you, the communitalism, how is that different?
Yes, I think for me, the whole idea of education and transformation is actually about understanding our place in the universe. When we learn that education is meant to help us to see reality as a whole, and I think the conflicts we have in the world today is because we think being educated means to segment reality into different units. Because we think being educated means to segment reality. So most times now we speak about re-educating, to re-educate ourselves. And the idea of research is research session again. And I think today, the world needs to understand the meaning of living in Africa. I think Africa symbolized that importance of research, going back to where we came from. At the end of the day, we need to go back to our origin. And so when we speak about research, working with people, we speak about ontology. Who am I? And what is reality for me? And until we understand research, education as ontology, then there will always be this segmentation of knowledge, science, technology, art, literature. But we have only one knowledge of life, the environment. It's all one body. So for me, I see that as a contribution of communitalism, that there's conflict in the world because our educations tend to separate us from nature, from ourselves as individuals, and from our community. So for me, communitalism is bringing everything back again, and we need to go back to our origin. As one of my favorite sayings is, you cannot be original without your origin. So we must go back to our origin. And my origin is not tied to Africa or to Europe, to anywhere. It's tied down to nature, wherever I am. So that is what I preach. That's what I try to embody in my life. And for me, that is what education is about, to regenerate. That's why we use the word regen Africa. It's Africa because at the end of the day, we are all from Africa. Means we from the origin, where civilization originated from. So that is my work, regenerating myself, my community, my society, and my environment.
Yes, thank you. I remember you saying that we do not create anything new. We innovate, and that is what Transform and Ronnie Lessam and Alexander Schiffer has been doing. The whole PhD was about innovating, which is also regenerating. So you brought that innovation forward. You were already doing that. So how did that PhD or that journey helped, or what was transformed during that course of journey?
Yes, what the PhD in me, when I did it, helped me to see is the ability to see that at the end, it's not just about me, it's about we and us. So when I speak about care of myself, I care, but we care too, because there will be no in God. It's all me, my achievements, my title. It has to be about we. Now, when I say we, it means me and you, wherever you are in any part of the world. And for me, that is what a PhD should be, to have a global, broad perspective that the human person is the same. It doesn't matter the color, which is as accidental, or wherever you live, even the geography, it is the same because we all share in the common humanity. If education does not help me to discover this, then I am a chronic illiterate who know nothing. So it is not about having the title of a professor or PhD. The measure of an educated person is the ability to see how we all are connected together. Otherwise, then I know nothing. So that is my own idea of a process of holistic development. So in a village somewhere in Africa, where you have local women who are working, they could be connected with the rest of the world because of the consciousness that they are part of humanity and they do not separate themselves from the nature, from the soil, from the environment, from the air we breathe. Then they are educated. That is, for me, the meaning of education. And that's what my journey of transformation, my PhD process, has helped me to do, so that if I work with local healers somewhere in Nigeria, I help them to reconnect, to know that they are not just local healers, they are also global healers, because they can tap into those universal virtues of respect, of care, and the consciousness that we are all parts of humanity.
Beautifully said. And now talking about what you've mentioned about education and PhD, it's not about the titles. We believe in that. I think the world still has to embrace this. Maybe one day they will. So now you're working with your African colleagues, Ronnie Lessam and us, and with Da Vinci Institute. We are talking about societal PhD, which is a term that I've started using on my channel as well, to maybe normalize it so people can understand what do we mean by a societal PhD, that you are part of your society as well. So from the individual to community to society, and that is under that mega project of regenerating Africa. So tell us about that, and also that you have worked with many institutes around the world. How would this societal PhD be any different?
Yes, I think for me, the idea of the societal PhD is simply to develop a global perspectives about realities, about what happened around us, and to always keep in mind that we all belong to a community. Every plant has a name and a story. Every human being has a name, has a story. No one is born a global citizen. Everyone is local. I came from somewhere, and I must always be conscious of this. Whatever I become, I came from somewhere. So for me, no one is born global. Everyone is local.
I
Even
love that. I love that.
yes, Muhammad was born in a place. Jesus Christ was born in a place, and so even the Roman Catholic Pope is described as the Bishop of Rome, not the Bishop of the world. So
No.
I come from a place, yes. So we must be conscious of this reality. And because we came from a place, my perspectives, my attitudes is conditioned by the fact that I grew up in that place and I come from that place. So a societal PhD should help me to acknowledge this and accept that I am limited by the fact that I grew up in a place, that I lived there, I was born there, but I am ready to reach out and embrace other perspectives in peace without imposing my own perspectives on them. So for me, that's what a societal PhD should be, to expand our knowledge of what a community is. It's a commune of knowledges, of realities, of perspectives, where we respect the distinctions, the uniqueness of everyone, and then we can bring transformation. So when I acknowledge that my own definition of development is not the same as that of someone who lives somewhere in different part of the world, yes, there's room to come together and identify what brings us together and what we mean by development. So the societal PhD is to help us to grow, to move beyond the personal. And that's why we always emphasize the transpersonal. Because you can't become transformational unless you move from the personal to the transpersonal, and then leave your confine of your discipline and become transdisciplinary, and then transcultural at the same time. You embrace other cultures, and there will be more prospect of peace in the world if we embrace this, move beyond our culture, and acknowledge that there are other cultures, other perspectives, other worldviews, and not mine, the world. Because so long as I want to impose mine on you, then there'll be no peace in the world. And that's why I love the word Pax, which means peace, the ability to embrace other perspectives. So that's what we call societal PhD, the consciousness that is not just about me, my thinking, my own perspectives, but it's about reaching out to other realities.
Thank you so much. Beautifully explained. I did a very short and sweet dialogue with Ronnie on from multiculturalism to transculturalism. But do you think the world is ready for this? Because look at the state of our world. I mean, how much do we respect other cultures? We still are trying to impose that monoculture, which is, this is our battle together on the path of this holistic development, the process of holistic development and PhD, that we are saying there shouldn't be a monoculture, and because that's not sustainable, as you very rightly explained. Do you think the world is ready to embrace something like this now?
Yes, the whole world is never ready to embrace anything new. Never ready. There will always be people who will resist any form of change and development. But if we can bring 10% or 15% of the world to embrace these new realities, eventually it will be embraced by the rest. So yes, so that is the approach we will always take, but the world will always resist changes. But it takes few men and women at the end of the day to bring changes to the world. Yes. And we will not be discouraged by how daunting the work will be, but what we are doing is already one contribution towards promoting that. Whatever I'm doing is a contribution. So we can count 10, 20, 50, 100 others, 1,000 others. The change will start. And the result will be evidence. Maybe not in our lifetime, but surely it will show sooner than later.
Yes, I agree. I wholeheartedly agree with this, because there was a meme doing rounds on social media, and it said, what can I do? Said one person among 7 billion people. If all of us can start thinking like, oh, what can I do? I'm just one person, then nothing will be changed or transformed. So we are all carrying this, it's in the process of, taking it forward from our ancestors to now to the next generation. So it's just creating another loop of, carrying this knowledge, as you've done with Nature Power, the book, which is very inspiring. So tell us about your book, Nature Power, that you actually took stories from the village elders and you compiled them in the remedies of the natural remedies, the African remedies especially. So can you please tell us about that? Thank you.
Yes, the Nature Power is a book about African natural remedies, and the origin was as a young monk. I was doing some research as a young scholar on how people find solutions to their problems, and I travel around the country to document how people try to solve their problems with what they have. And I was impressed at the amount of knowledge that is among the people. And I felt it should be written down, it should be documented. Because at the end of the day, people know how to find solutions to their problem. And the idea that knowledge from outside is the best knowledge, it's always an illusion, because people always know more than they can tell. So I decided to document the knowledge of herbal remedies among the local communities and put it into writing. And the book, became a bestseller, of course. And I also say that at that time, because I was young, I thought I was going to solve the problem of the world and help to eradicate diseases all over the world. Now that I am older, I am no longer anxious to solve the problem of the world. I have discovered that for me, the transformation is just to discover the nature in me, to draw out the power of nature within me, and share with other people. So I no longer want to solve the problem of the world. I want to solve the problem of my own ignorance and foolishness. And I think that will be enough contribution to the world. So that is the much I've learned from nature power. Not me using nature power to solve the world's problem, to discover in me this power of nature in me, and let it reflect and let other people just tap from it by just being with them and observing how nature works. So the book is still very popular around the world, and I'm also learning more from it. I've been revised so many times, and I've written, build on it further, and publish a bigger one, which the scientific and ethnographical knowledge of herbs. So for me, that is part of the ongoing transformation.
Wow, amazing. You're such a wonder man, because you not only write books, do your research, then compile that, then you perform your own priesthood, the responsibility of being the reverend or the priest. And also you work with your community, you educate, you give lectures. I mean, how do you do that? All of it.
Yes, I'm also a farmer. I'm a farmer. I work in the garden. I love to write poems and write stories. Yes. And yes, I do all that. And for me, they all amount to, yes, to being integral That's the idea. And that's why I love the integral approach. Yes, there are many dimensions to each person, but you discover as much of it as you want to.
Yes, I think you are a living example of what people always very rhetorically say about the full potential of human being or human experience. You are actually living your life fully in that way, very purposefully, and serving others and serving, creating new knowledge and also transferring that knowledge. So I think that's a beautiful example. That's why I said in the opening words that you are like a legend, a living legend. And I'm so happy that we are having this discussion here. So tell me about, you also train people. I mean, we don't use the term train, but you educate people how to be herbalists, and especially in the African context. You have students, you've educated women, the local women as well. So can you tell us about that, please?
Yeah, sure. And yes, just thinking about what you just said, all that you have said is what I'm hoping to be, what I'm aspiring to be. I'm not there yet, but I'm hoping to get to those virtues you are talking about. And I think
you are just being modest here and very humble.
And I work with a lot of women in the local communities because the women, they are the foundation, of life, because they are the one who carry the family, and they train the children. So it's very crucial to empower the women. So I worked with the local community to form associations of women farmers, women entrepreneurs. As you know, Ronnie, my colleague, does not like the word entrepreneur, but they are business people who, they need to empower the communities. So I've done that because I discovered from my experience that there's always a tendency to want to keep on organizing seminars and trainings for women, and I'm always against that, because the women, they don't need the men to train them, tell them what to do. We need to give them the platform, equal platform, to express what they are, and they do better than us, than the men. So that is my own approach, that we create the right atmosphere for everyone. And that's our philosophy of feminism, giving voice to the oppressed, because the women, we oppress them and we don't even acknowledge that through our perspectives, through the structure we have in place. So that's what I try to do here, to let them be aware of their potentials and discover the different ways through which they are being oppressed without being aware of it. And then to challenge those systems and claim their freedom. So that's what I do. And they operate on their own. And I could see the effects, their businesses, there are so many of them, they are doing well, they have trained their children, and they also pass on this knowledge to their children. And so I'm very happy to see how they are. So they are moving on their own. There's no meeting or much involvement of myself with them, but they value the knowledge, that system that is passed on to them. And I also teach in the schools nearby universities. I teach in the...
Sorry, I can't hear you.
Hello?
Yes, that's good now. Yes.
Okay. Yeah, so that's the kind of involvement I have with the local women. And then the young people, students in secondary school, in primary school, and the universities, and teaching them about empowerment.
That's amazing, because you're kind of now cultivating, planting the seeds, and then there will be these gardens as well. And I like the fact what you said about especially the village women, because when I went to Pakistan, when I was doing my PhD research, and I noticed that people, the city girls, would have this in their mind that they are going to empower these village women, village people, or women especially. And I used to, get annoyed at them, saying, you don't need to empower them. They are empowered enough because, they work in the farms, they can drive tractors, and, they do all sorts. Why do you have this in your mind that you're empowering them? It's actually the other way around. But again, as you said about education, it's that conditioning we have that we just feel like we have the, the superiority of knowledge coming from universities or colleges. But it's the natural, the intrinsic knowledge, which, the survival instinct, I think, is within everybody, and the villagers actually know it more than the city dwellers. I think they know how to survive in every environment.
Yes, and that's the idea of the communitalism, which is the theory that I developed in my book, that we need to bring the community into the academia. We need to turn the villages into universities, and we now call it community, and avoid this separation of the ivory tower, the university, where you just focus on books without bringing the knowledge from the farm into the academia. So that's the idea, and I think that is the way forward to stop this dichotomy between knowledge of the ground in the families, in the communities, the dichotomy between knowledge in the classroom. So to bring the classroom into the house. So washing plates, cooking, these are knowledges, and they should fit into our knowledge of accounting, cooking, of nutrition. But people have a lot of knowledge about nutrition, which food is good or not. And we should find a way of learning from what happens in the families and bring this into the classroom in the university. So I think that's why we developed the concept of community. Now we now call it from university to community. That the community must be part of the faculty of training people. Otherwise, we have young graduates who think they have knowledge, superior knowledge, and then they go to the communities, and then they are frustrated because they find that they cannot adapt to the reality of the communities. And it is happening a lot around us. We have engineering students who are PhD in engineering, and then they have no idea on how to provide solutions to the problem in the communities. And then they want to run back to the cities where they are looking for jobs that are not available because there's no job for everyone, because they have a different understanding. But in the villages, nobody is jobless because there's job for everyone. So the idea of joblessness is part of the modern system, economic system. It does not exist in the local communities. And there's no homelessness in the local communities. So there's home for everyone. It's in the cities, where you have designed and a system of housing that you acquire the available spaces. The people are homeless. So we need to recover this sense all over again. For me, that's why community is so important.
And you are one of the co-authors of the idea of the community.
Yes.
Yes. Okay, so I had this question in mind. It's just gone now. Yes. So just to reinforce and reiterate about transformation, that is not just your individual transformation, but the communal and societal transformation as well, especially in the case of Pax Herbals, because you founded the laboratory, the enterprise, Pax Herbals or Pax Africana, And then you don't have the ownership. The ownership is with the monastery and the community people. And you just operate as a researcher, educator, but it is you set up that laboratory or enterprise. Can you tell us about that? I mean, I've explained it, but maybe some wise words from you.
Yes, the Pax Herbals is registered as a company limited by guarantee. So a company set up in the proper way. Companies are set up. But I initiated it, but there are many people involved. We have the Brotherhood of the Monasteries who are all working in different units. We had about 250 full-time staff in different units in microbiology, biochemistry. So it's a scientific company because we are involved into scientific research in plant biotechnology, in ethnobotany, biochemistry, pharmacy, pharmacology. So we have that unit. We also have the agricultural unit. So it's a very integrated company. And because we also manufacture consumables, food supplements, we needed to be certified and registered with the regulatory agencies because we are public health organization. We produce things that the public do consume. So these things have to be certified as safe for public consumption. So we also keep to those rules. But beyond all those is the philosophy, the principle of Pax Herbals, bringing health healing to the people, helping people to discover the healing in them. And for me, that philosophy is important. So it has grown, is functioning. We have more than 5,000 distributors all over the country. And I stand back and I see how it is emerging on its own, as an entity. And for me, that is enough to see how it is growing. I'm not fully involved in the operations anymore, but it is growing. It's a living entity that is growing. And if people ask how is it growing, I keep on saying it's a philosophy because it was founded on a philosophy. And I tell my students too, don't set up a company without a philosophy. Otherwise, it's not going to last long. So when there is crisis, we fall back to that philosophy. So I think Pax Herbals, the philosophy has been there. Aim to bring healing health to the people, not to make profits. Because profit will come, but you provide meaning to people, then the benefits will come later. So I think that's also our idea of a business enterprise that is focused on value to the people first, then every other thing will follow. So that's what we do in Pax Herbals. So we are the largest producer of natural supplements in West Africa. And we've got some patents now for some of our products. And things keep evolving and growing.
And yeah, I'm one of the customers or consumer. and you are bringing this wisdom to other continents as well, especially the UK. You are setting it up here as a company.
Yes.
Would you set up a laboratory as well, you say?
Yes, we work with existing laboratories and we partner with them. And yes, part of our cooperation. And one of our philosophies in Pax Herbals too is the philosophy of cooperation rather than competition. And I think it applies to every aspect of life. There's enough for everyone. So cooperation rather than competition. And for me, that's also very powerful.
Of course. I think we should end at this very powerful message that there is enough for everybody. And you know that my philosophy or my thesis was on abundance as well, that, you know, there is abundance, but I, of course, bring the divine aspect, the spiritual to it, that, you know, we see scarcity, but whereas there's abundance. But thank you so much for your time and your words of wisdom that will be ringing with me always. Thank you.